Whoa, 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 bop.
What's up YouTube? Chris Bandy here. In this series, I'm going to show you how to understand jazz harmony. This tutorial focuses on harmonic features, analysis, and labeling. It does not focus on progressions or performance techniques, although I might make tutorials for those concepts later on. In addition, I teach jazz piano, theory, and composition lessons in person and online, so email me if you are interested. If you have any questions about this video, please check the description before commenting. Thanks to the Coldest Water Bottle Company for sponsoring this series. This 21-ounce sports bottle is solid and sturdy, keeps your drinks cold, floats on water so you don't lose it, has a rubber grip and a handle, is odor resistant, and fits in basically all cup holders. It has been perfect for me every time I go out of the house, and they have 12 different bottle types and a bunch of other products. The brand has over 8,000 5-star reviews, and they offer full refunds if you aren't satisfied. Pick up a Coldest Water bottle today by clicking the link in the description, and use the promo code BANDY to get 10% off your entire order. Alright, let's get into the series. For all of the harmonies we've studied so far, the main structure has been built by stacking thirds. Therefore, these are called tertian harmonies. But what if we stacked perfect fourths instead, to make quartal harmonies? For example, what if we started on C and played 6 tones, all separated by perfect fourths? Since there are 6 tones, we could call this C quartal 6 and label it as C QT 6. We could also use square notation and label it like this. If we were to analyze this chord in a tertian way, we would have to call it C minor 7 flat 13 flat 9 no 5, which just looks awful. I think C quartal 6 is much more preferable. In addition, note that C quartal 7 is identical to the C Locrian scale, or C half diminished 11 flat 13 flat 9. We could also use quintal harmonies, which are structures built on stacking fifths. When we build harmonies by stacking perfect fifths, we end up with chords that are very similar to tertian harmonies. Allow me to demonstrate. Let's start on C and stack upwards by perfect fifths. When we have 2 tones, we end up with C open 5. With 3 tones, we get C sus2. With 4 tones, we get C6 sus2. With 5 tones, we get C6-9. Now we have the full major pentatonic scale. With 6 tones, we get C major 13. Now we have a major or Lydian scale, but without the 4. We are missing the F natural or F sharp. But with 7 tones, we get C major 13 sharp 11. Now we have the full Lydian scale. So thankfully, quintal harmonies give us very simple chords when we analyze them in a tertian way. But what if we kept going up? What if we went up to 8 tones? How do we analyze this chord in a tertian way? What is the C sharp doing in there? To answer all of this, notice that when you stack perfect fifths, the 7-note scale that emerges is the Lydian scale. But as a collection of tones, the Lydian scale is identical to a major 13 sharp 11 chord. Now notice that, built into this chord, there is a pattern of alternating major thirds and minor thirds. Major third, minor third, major third, minor third, major third, minor third. What if we continue this sequence? The next interval in the sequence is another major third, and that brings us to C sharp. Hey, that was the tone we were wondering about. Now we can analyze it in a tertian way. We've got the natural 1, major 3, natural 5, major 7, natural 9, sharp 11, and natural 13. So the C sharp must be some sort of 15. Now, if it were C natural, it would be the natural 15 of C. But it is C sharp, so it must be the sharp 15 of C. So we could analyze this chord as C major 13, sharp 15, sharp 11. So if stacking 7 tones gives us a Lydian sound, then stacking 8 tones gives us a super Lydian sound. Introducing C sharp, which is the sharp 15. What if we stack 9 tones? This would introduce the G sharp, which in this context is the sharp 19 of C. This gives us the super ultra Lydian sound. Stacking 10 tones will introduce the D sharp, which is the sharp 23 of C. This gives us the super ultra hyper Lydian sound. Stacking 11 tones introduces the A sharp, which is the sharp 27 of C. This gives us the super ultra hyper mega Lydian sound. And finally, stacking all 12 tones in perfect fifths introduces the E sharp, which is the sharp 31 of C, and which I call the meta major tone. This gives us the super ultra hyper mega meta Lydian sound, which is about as bright as you can get using 12-tone equal temperament. Thus, chords can be categorized in terms of how far they reach around the circle of ascending perfect fifths. This is an extremely brief introduction to extended Lydian Locrian theory, which is a way of exploring and analyzing harmony using quintal and quartal structures. A basic way to label a quintal harmony is to write the root, then a 5-pointed asterisk, then the number of tones that can be arranged into a series of perfect fifths ascending from the root. For example, the chord C major 13, sharp 15, sharp 11 can be arranged into 8 tones separated by perfect fifths, with C at the bottom. So this chord can be labeled as C quintal 8. The final topic of this series is real inversion, which is one of the concepts of a broader idea called negative harmony. Real inversion is basically taking a chord and turning it upside down. To do this, follow 3 easy steps. First, pick an axis tone. Then, for each chord member, find the distance between it and the axis. Finally, write down a new tone that is the same distance from the axis as that chord member is. But this new tone should be on the other side of the axis. For example, let's invert the chord C major. First, we pick an axis tone. Let's pick the tone B for the axis. Then, for each chord member, find the distance between it and the axis. Let's start with C. The distance between C and B is a major 7th. The distance between E and B is a perfect 5th. And the distance between G and B is a major 3rd. Finally, for each chord member, we write down a new tone that is the same distance from the axis as that chord member is, but this new tone should be on the other side of the axis. So since C is a major 7th below B, we need to write down the tone that is a major 7th above B. That gives us A sharp. Similarly, since E is a perfect 5th below B, we need to write down the tone that is a perfect 5th above B. That gives us F sharp. And finally, since G is a major 3rd below B, we need to write down the tone that is a major 3rd above B. That gives us D sharp. So we end up with the tones D sharp, F sharp, and A sharp, which is a D sharp minor triad. Now, the root of this chord was determined by the axis, which was chosen randomly. So the root is not super important here. What's important is the quality that we get. We inverted a major triad and ended up with a minor triad. So this uncovers an inversional relationship between major triads and minor triads. When a major triad is inverted, it becomes a minor triad. When a minor triad is inverted, it becomes a major triad. A simple way to summarize this is to say that major triads invert with minor triads. Certain chords are symmetrical, which means that when you invert them, you end up with a chord that has the same quality, extensions, and alterations as the original. For example, when you invert a diminished triad, it stays diminished. When you invert an augmented triad, it stays augmented. When you invert a major 7th chord, it remains a major 7th chord. Other chords are asymmetrical, which means that when you invert them, something changes about the quality, extensions, or alterations. Major triads invert with minor triads. Dominant 7th chords invert with half-diminished 7th chords. And minor major 7th chords invert with augmented major 7th chords. Alright, we've reached the end of this series. Thanks for watching.